go to the second speaker. He's the Professor Profumo. I'm really delighted to introduce Francesco Profumo. He's a professor, of course, of the Polytechnic University of Turin, former Minister of Education, Research and University, and now the president of one of the biggest foundations in Europe, very involved in education. But if I have to be entirely honest, we didn't call him for these reasons, but we asked him to give us a presentation because his vision, his capacity, ability to see the future. I have the opportunity, the privilege to speak with him quite often, and every time after 15 minutes of speech with him, I have several weeks to sleep and to reflect on the suggestions and his views of education and the future and the impact, the honest view of the future. So I would like to thank you very much for these opportunities that you are giving us, and I will ask you to start your speech. Thank you very much.
First of all, thank you for your words. Thank you for the organization of this seminar. It's really interesting because you can have 300 people listening in this place and also in the remote mode. And I feel that this is the right way to go. We needed to talk more about these problems, and we needed to really be together with people coming from different sides and different experiences in order to try really to not solve the problem, because the problems are too big, but just to at least have some good experiences that could be the way just to go on with this process. The process will be very long, I'm sure from this. But in the meantime, because I was involved since many years in these processes, I feel that something can be done. And the fact that today Aline was talking about school and that she's not a part of the school is the great first step. One of the problems in our country is that the talking about schools is always between people in the school, and each of them has usually a great experience, but this is the only way in which they can really contribute to them. And we understand that today, in reality, the world is completely different. The new generation are much different than before, and we need really to have a great step on this stuff. What I try to do today is a kind of walk in what we can call data, speak, and why, in the sense that I try to, not convince, to give you some evidence that, first of all, it's possible to use data. Second, there are small experiences in this country that are already in. And the last one is, if I have time, just to give some ideas about one project that we are looking for. And maybe we can give just a small contribution to this process that I feel that is the priority number one for this country. In the other way, we have a country that has very large debts. We don't have kids, and the country is much worse than we can see. And I feel that really we needed to do something for it. Just to try. I don't know if we can, but we needed to try to go in some kind of path that has to be identified. And this identification has to be in the direction not to create too many, let me see, experiments, the country is not able to sustain any more experiment. We needed to go inside the school and to try really to face the problems and to try to solve the problem. Okay, I want to start using one video. It's 3 minutes around that. That is quite interesting because we can see that from the video that the data is something really close to our life, much more than what we can expect. Let me try to do it.
I'm Georgia. I am Italian, but I live in New York.
I'm Stephanie. I was born in Denver, Colorado, but I've lived in London for the past 13 years.
We had only met each other in person twice when in September 2013 we decided to collaborate on a year-long project to get to know each other through our data.
Dear Data was conceived as a new type of correspondence through creating and sending hand-drawn data postcards across the ocean to each other. We collected personal data around a shared topic in order to investigate and reveal aspects of ourselves and our days to share with the other person.
By counting and reducing in a way to data even the most shameful personal revelations, they somehow felt not so shameful anymore. They are data.
As we gathered our weekly data, the process was much more labor-intensive than just deriving standard metrics through using technological devices.
The very first week of Dear Data, we chose a pretty cold and impersonal topic. How many times do we check the time in a week? We discovered something about the other person's days through the pretext of my data collection. Why was I checking the time? What was I doing? Was I bored? Was I hungry? Was I late?
I finally realized during our week of gathering data on the urban wildlife we saw around us. Each week isn't a scientific, comprehensive survey of every single animal I passed by or every emotion I felt and so on, but a record of Georgia and I noticing and us marking our awareness. Some weeks we notice more and some weeks we notice less, and that's an indication of our personalities and our lives as well.
Drawing with data, when the drawing is the final output, can be painful. It's laborious, demanding, it's frustrating. My week 24 is a perfect example. A week of doors, to give the other person the idea of the pace of our days through the internal and external environments we entered in.
Often during the project, the act of counting became something that was emotionally charged. In week 29, Georgia and I ended up tracking moments when our partners inspired love or inspired annoyance. This card became like a love letter to my husband. I like how instead of giving someone flowers, now you can give a data set. Once the visualization was complete each week, we would drop the postcard in our postbox and wait with our fingers crossed.
We learn to pay attention, to live in the present much more, to be more aware of our surroundings and of our behaviors with new lenses.
Finally, we both realized that data is the beginning of the story, not the end, and should be seen as a starting point for questioning and understanding the world around us, instead of seeing it as the definitive answer to all of our questions.
Okay, we have data in our life, maybe we don't know, or we don't use. And today, we have really the possibility to change our life today. This is the key point that we needed to start. In this case, Georgia and Stephanie, they had this data. And they transfer data just with the standard communication. And then maybe at a certain point, they can change it. They can use the same data, maybe more structured, more in a completely different way. Why it's so important today to move in this direction? Maybe you remember that in November the 29th of 2019, the new president, the new president of the European Commission, in her speech for the 5 years mandate, she was talking about transitions. And she mentioned at that time 3 major transitions. First of all, the digital transition. The second one is what we can call the green transitions. And the third one, she said, the social resilience. At that time, we were thinking to have a separate kind of transition. Today, we understand that the transition are really interconnected, the one with the other, and maybe we have something much more contradiction. Think about demography, for example. Think about the possibility that we have today just to redesign our cities. You know, it's really a complex world, but this complex world has to face, first of all, data, because the data are the basic, just to try to identify possible projects for the future. For the data, why it's so important? It was also maybe before, but something is really changed. First of all, we have what we can call the data sphere for the year 2025, and you know we are now having some kind of a way to measure the number of data, and the numbers are so huge that we needed to try to understand what it means. One zettabyte is a trillion of bytes, a huge number, a very big one. And in the year 2025, we expect to generate 160 zettabytes. This means that we have 480,000 interactions per capita each day. In 18 seconds, we will have one interaction. This means that in 1 minute, we are going to have 2 interactions. This means, look, we have 7 billion people around the world. You understand why it's so important, it's so relevant, this problem related to data. In the meantime, 20% of the data are generated by mobile devices. And the number of mobile devices are increasing day by day. And 30% of the data generated are real time. This means that they are updated time by time. And the last point is 1/3 of the data is potentially critical. This means that we needed to have the right regulation, the right recommendation, I can say mainly a new culture for data. In the other way, we are going to face a really big problem. And just now, our kids are problems on this side. The President von der Leyen, 1 year later, in the year 2020, she said, we want that the European data strategy reflects the best of Europe. Open, fair, diverse, democratic, and confident. These words are really very strong words. And in the meantime, look what is happening. The year 2018 is 1 year before that President von der Leyen started to be the president of our commission. And we had 301 million of euro that are involved in what we can call data business in some way. If we look at in the year 2025, the number of billion is 829. This means per 2.8. You know, this increased number, it's really a great opportunity on one side, but it's also very big. In the meantime, the number of professionals starting from 5.7 go up to 10.9. This means to have a great opportunity for new jobs. And the percentage of the population of the European Union with competence, digital competence, the basis is from 57% in the year 2018 to 65% in the year 2035. But our country is one of the weakest from this way. We have more than 50% of people in Italy that they don't have these kind of competencies. And we needed to really start from there, from the education, how we can really involve these people and we can educate these people. In the meantime, we have the innovation is going on. We cannot say that we can stop innovation. Innovation is really moving so fast that sometimes it's difficult just to follow. Think about artificial intelligence. Maybe you know that artificial intelligence, the first conference was in 1956 in Chicago area. And it was really in the, what we call complex system field at that time. It was just a small group of people that they were talking. And for 1956 till last year, it was, we can say, something like the seasons. We had sometimes spring for EI, then we have summer and fall, then winter. And it was many times. But since November last year, with the generative AI, the life is completely changed. And we face one fast growing of interest, of interaction, of opportunities, of difficulties that was not imaginable. No one was able just to say that something happened in this direction, in this force, with this force, with this growing. You know, it's something really incredible. And the basic that we can say that is that at the basis of this really fast growing, we have the big data, in the sense that this system are learning using data, and more data we have, more opportunity we have. But we are going to face it pretty soon, one problem, that is most of the data that we are using today are not certified. You know, when you go to the website and you're facing some problem. I'm going to talk something more related to this problem and some of the research that are going on. But for now, the big problem is related to the fact that really we needed to identify a way to select the data that are the basis of this generative artificial intelligence. Why we talk about education and data? You know, if you look at this chart, you can see that in blue there is something that has a high relevance. The interaction between data and fields. And if you can see education, we have this high interaction for advanced connectivity, for cloud and edge computing, for industrial sizing. It means that really it's important today, but it will be important much, much more in the next future. Then the interaction between data and the education system is growing, and we need to face the problem, and we need maybe to use this opportunity just to create a different education system. The impact of artificial intelligence on education is very high. You can see that only the digital platform and the apps, they have more interaction and impact by the artificial intelligence. But in the case of education, it's more than 8% of the impact. This means that we don't know yet what could happen, but we are sure that the artificial intelligence will be a driving force in the new education system. We are in the good start, in the good starting point, do you think that we have enough competencies on this side? Do you need that the education system is right now in the good shape in order to interact with artificial intelligence? I think no. What we needed to do is a problem. Why we needed to do? Because we needed to remember that education is only a tool for what? For the new generation, to create a new generation that are able just to live in a complete different world. I'm going to talk a little bit about the relation between what we call the industrial revolutions and the education system. And then let me read what is written here. AI will not replace innovators. This is reassuring. But innovators who use AI will replace those who don't. This is really the key point. Then we need really to use artificial intelligence in order to create innovators, just to have people that are able just to live in a completely different world. I don't know. It's a very difficult task, but I'm sure that we need to face it. I want to spend just a few minutes related to this, but it's a key point. And, you know, if we look back, there is a strong interaction between the Industrial Revolution and the education system that are facing on. And if we look this, the first Industrial Revolution was between the end of 700 and the beginning of 800. It lasted decades. And the basic revolution was water and steam power. And we can say that the result was the mechanization, starting the factory in reality. This is quite interesting. And I want to put your eyes on this fact that the number of years were decades. And then for people living in that period, was possible to use the knowledge gathered by the school for all the life. This is very important because, you know, the great investment of people is in education. And then the next stage of the education is the job, is the work. And we needed to connect in some way the education system and the possibility to have knowledge enough to work for all the life, or to have a completely different system. For the second revolution, was between the end of the 800, the beginning of 900. In this case, the technological driver was the electric power, and we had the mass production. Also in this case, we had decades, and also in this case, we had this possibility just to use the knowledge for all the life. The third one, revolution for the first time, and this in the two first revolution of what do we have? What do we have as a result that this new form of energy was substituting some of the muscular activity of the human beings. And it's just interesting, but we needed to put in evidence this part. The third one is related between the end of 900 and the beginning of the year 2000. And the technological driver is electronics and IT system. And in this case, is automation. And again, is in some way just to reduce the. Maybe I can do it. Maybe I can do it. Okay. And in this case, again, we had some kind of a new form. It's not energy, but it's automation that is substitute the muscular activity of man. Now, we are in the fourth revolution, and for the first time, there is no anymore muscle interaction, but the brain. And you know, this is something really new for us. And for sure, this new revolution will be quite short. This means that we are going to have a strong interaction with the educational system. Maybe we need a complete to redesign, and maybe this is the big issue that we need to face. I want just to say one thing. For this fourth revolution, we know now one word is GPT. What means GPT? GPT means general purpose technology. But this is not the first GPT. We can have a GPT for the first, for the second, for the third, and for the fourth. The only difference is that the technology is different. The first one was water steam. The second one electric power. You know, I'm sure that we are going to face other GPTs in the future, and pretty soon maybe. Data and artificial intelligence. We have this kind that we call hype cycle today. And if you can see in the chart on the left side, the artificial intelligence and the generative AI are pretty close to what we call peak of inflated expectations. This means that we are almost mature. And this is a critical point. This means that in some years, you can see that by the different color for the generative AI is between 2 to 5 years, and for the artificial intelligence is something around 10 years. But we need to keep in mind that this process is already there and we cannot stop. We need only to really understand what we need to do in order to have people that are able to live with this intelligence, artificial intelligence framework that is completely different from the past. And in the year 2013 is a similar cycle, and we can see what happened related to the big data and the Internet of Things that today are something already almost mature. But you understand that this kind of Gartner hyper cycle is something really realistic that we need really to keep in account to design our future and to keep in track what is happening in the meantime between one and the next photo. We can say that we can do something similar year by year, getting different photographs of the cycle and to understand where we are moving and how fast we are moving on this side. We are sure that the problem is culture. Culture for AI. This means that we need to start from kids. We are not able yet because we don't have enough. In our country, we did very little related to this point. Our university are not able yet just to graduate enough researchers on this side. And then there is a great conflict because the big players on AI, they are attracting these people, and we don't have people that can be part of the university system in future. Then we have for sure one problem for kids, but we have a big issue that is related to the professionals that really we need in order to have a country that is able to really put on the table knowledge enough just to create a new generation of kids and young guys and girls that are able to live in this completely different system, different way to say. Jobs, you know, in the last few years we had a lot of discussion related to AI. Someone is very positive, others are very negative. We need for sure regulations, is a key point. I'm very confident that Europe will be the major driver rate at this point. If we look back in the last 20 or 30 years, Europe was much better than US on one side and China from the other ones, because we have this culture that is able just to look for the future, to look of interaction of these different fields. We have a more, we can call it, ethic world. And this is a really key point. We need to say thanks to Europe, because I'm sure that will be the first part of the world that, you know, we cannot have a regulation for one country. For the knowledge is not stopped by the borders. The knowledge moves all around. But we need to have some institution that is strong enough in order to drive this process that is really an important process in order to get good results from AI and from what is following to AI. New culture, new skills. New culture, new skills, it's a big problem. Let me give you some numbers. Maybe you know that in Italy we have around 2 million university students. In the last few years, the number of traditional university students went down, but in the meantime is growing the new the student for the new type of university, the long distance education in some way. Probably the future will be something hybrid in the sense that possible to have just a contact with the students, this means to have a presence, but in the meantime to have some activities that can be also in a remote way. But anyhow, the number are still around 2 million. If we look at the people that are working now, and that they can be involved in this revolution, the number 4 that we were talking, we have maybe 20 million of people. And these people, they need upskilling and reskilling. This is a big issue, a big problem. And at the university, they don't have tools, they don't have people, they are not able really to solve or just to follow this problem. This means that from this side, our country and also the other countries, they need to really understand what they want to do from this side. But remember, 2 million of university students, 20 million of people that are in this process. And we cannot really think that these 20 millions, they can lose the job, they cannot have the possibility to continue their life. Second, which kind of skills we need to have for the future? It's very difficult to say because we don't know really yet the type of jobs that we create. Each day we have a new job, something different. But for sure we have 2 points. One of the people, they have more quantitative capability, this means analytical thinking, critical thinking. But in the meantime, they have to be more creative. It means that we needed really to understand that our schools and the university that are the path for these people. They need really in this direction. They needed to understand that the traditional school, where we have one teacher that is on the desk and the students are on the other side, maybe it's not the right way to go. We need really to go in a different direction. The spaces has to be different. The relation between them inside the school. And going back to the question for the number of students in class, you know, is something that we needed to cancel. It's not anymore the class, it's something the community, is the way how the community is evolving in a day school. Maybe sometimes you have 10 students, some other, for other activities you can have 30 students. But you need really to be like a manager, in the sense that the teacher, but mostly the chief of the school, the dean of the school, has to be someone that is able to manage maybe more than 1,000 students and hundreds of teachers. Then it's really a governance problem. And I feel that, and I was so pleased that Aline was with us today, because she was looking from a different point of view. From the point of view school, the school doesn't want to see, or doesn't want to say that the problem is how to manage the school, how the governance of the school is, you know, is not in their tradition, is not in their knowledge. And we need also to help these people to understand that the world is already changed. It's not that it's going to change. And we need really to go in the direction to help these people to understand this direction. And the last one is that artificial intelligence and big data will be for sure relevant in this process, and we needed to keep in track of what is happening for this. That the next step I wanted to explain. I'm since 8 years the president of one bank foundation. I don't know if maybe you don't know what is this, but it's a good story of our country. It's a good story. In the beginning of 1990, we had a law. The first signed was by Giuliano Amato, and that separate the business by the philanthropy in the bank system. It was a very difficult and tough. You know, maybe someone remember the Cassa di Risparmio. The Cassa di Risparmio, they had both. They had the possibility just to do business, but in the meantime they were so tight with the territories that they returned part of the business to territory through philanthropy. This was the model. But the new model was something more integrated, more. And in this this 30 years, the bank foundation became one important actor in our country. We have today 86 bank foundations, very different from very large one like in São Paulo and Calico, very small. Most are very small. Just to give a number, 78% of the assets of the foundation are in the hands of 10 foundations. This means the other 80 and 70 something, they are very small. And then we have also the problem that are not distributed homogeneous in the country. In the south, they don't have it. In the north, we have a quite good. But okay, this the company in São Paulo is a good history in the sense that not in this form, but was created 460 years ago, in the year 1563, by 7 people in Torino, that they had a good life, that they wanted to return something. And something is starting from that, then became Monte Pegni, then became a bank, and now is a, then is an excellent example how it is possible just to last for centuries and always to get something new in order to be more and more inserted in the society. And today is a great institution. And you know, why I'm talking about the data and the company in São Paulo? When I started in the year 2016, the company was already a great institution. They were run about 1,000 projects a year for something like 120 million. It's a big amount. And the applications were around 4,000 applications a year. Then if you look back for 30 years, you multiply by 30, you understand that 4,000 for 30 means 120,000. This is the application. In the meantime, 30,000 projects. And you understand that you can figure out how many data are in this project. The project were from education to research to health to social science to social to environment. And you know, at that time, the data were used only just to be sure that the money was spent with the we can say just to have only a ragionieristic use of the data, nothing more, not related to what could be the future, not what was the history of it. Then when I arrived, I said, oh look, we can maybe change completely the life if we use the data as something really important in life. And what we started to do is a strategy in data. And it's only 8 years ago. And we started from data management. Data, we reconstruct the data since the 30 years before. This means that we had only one system. And the data, they were very clean. And then it was possible just to start through the management. Second, when you have the data and you don't do nothing, you don't get nothing. And then the second point was data analysis. What means data analysis? It means that if you check, and you check my name, Profumo had in my life many interactions with the company, not in terms of governance, but I've been professor for many years, dean, rector. This means that I was one beneficiary of it. And then if you look back in 30 years, you can find that in my life I had, I don't know, maybe 30, 50, maybe 50 projects supported by the company. And then they know also if I was a good beneficiary, in the sense that if I got good results or not. If I was able just to build something in addition to that, you know, it's something really amazing. I'm talking about me, but you know, 120,000 projects or 30,000 realized projects. And then, starting from that, data valorization. This means, for example, that if I apply for the next project, okay, I apply with the project, it's important, but then they know also my history. And then they can do something good. In the meantime, the valorization can be done for past, but also for the management. This means for the project ongoing, but also for the forecast. What we can do as the next for the company? What are the priorities? I'm sure that the way that we spent the money in the last 4 years was the right one. In some cases, yes. In some others, we did something that was not the best. You know, this kind of a culture is becoming something really important. Why? Also because we decided that everything was to create one enterprise, data warehouse. This means for the company to put all together, and to put all together also the tools in order to use this one. And we had a very easy going, this in the sense that we had this data hub for them. And the people, we have about 100 people, every day they use this one. And they know that this is the way just to, is an important tool for them. Then we do something more, because we understood that the data of Compagnia are tightly connected with the data outside of the Compagnia. This means that we had the possibility just to interact with the open data in different way, or data with the municipality or the other one. You know, Torino is becoming one data city. This means that, for example, also for the school we have this possibility. We understand that in order to make a decision or just to design the future, we can do just close the eyes and say, okay, maybe we can do something, or open the eyes and look at what we did. And what is, today we can say something more. For example, with artificial intelligence, starting from the data, we can do something for the future too. You know, this is something that we understand that also our country really can do something in this direction. And this is really a technological infrastructure. Infrastructure because it's a quick and smart access to the entire ratings history of Compagnia di San Paolo. More than 4 billion euro of granted project in these years. And the data is sourced from Fondazione per la Scuola, Links Foundation, and Ufficio Chimio are running. This means that also the other entities that are working with the Compagnia, they have integrated their data in this big database that is a live database. This is the point where is the really great step, that it is the interaction with the open data for the community. You can see from Liguria, you can see for the province of Torino, you can do everything. For example, we use a lot of this data for to design what are some of the projects related to the DNR, because the decision was not done because someone was asking, but because we try to understand the necessity and try to do on the direction, just really to have a, we can say, a modern design of our activities and the activities in the territory. And the one point that is very relevant, that it is not anymore only the Compagnia, but is a system that is operating in this direction. And starting from this, we said, okay, maybe we can do something more. And in these days, we are working on research for artificial intelligence. We did the first call for a project on artificial intelligence before the year 2020. And we identified since there, at that time, that was artificial intelligence for human beings and related to society. For example, in the first call, the fourth field were education, health, culture, and industry. And the idea was to keep together people from research to application, in order to avoid to have a delay time between the results and the application. For example, for museum, we did a great job because we had some good projects, and we had the university department on one side and the museum at the end. And in the middle we had, for example, a certain number of small companies that they did, and that they created what I can call a new factory, new way to do the work in our territory. That is quite good. And Luigi Naldi, you know, that there was one of the presidents of the Republic, and in Torino we have all the archive Luigi Naldi. This means that all the written books, the letters, everything is possible. And first of all, what we did was just to digitalize all this document. And it's a huge work. And then we put together 3 different actors. The Fondazioni always they don't like to work alone. And we put the Fondazione Einaudi, that is the Fondazione that is managing the archive of President Einaudi. And then we put inside one company, Reply, that is very active, one of the most interesting company in the AI sector in the company. And the idea is that we realize one avatar that is able to get the information from the archive of Luigi Naldi, is answering to questions of this time through what the President Einaudi was thinking 50 years ago, 60 years ago. We are launching on Monday this project. It's a very interesting project. Why? Because the data are selected and then we solve one problem. Because we did also some comparison. The same question going through the network, to the web, or to directly, completely different answers. Then this is just to say that for the future, we need maybe work more and more on artificial intelligence algorithm. But in the meantime, we needed to interact more and more on data. Because if the data are not clean, the result is not good. Then let me try to almost finish and to say something relate how this process, you understand that there is a process that it was began 8 years ago. And in this last 2 years, we work on Città dell'Educazione. This means a huge project that is funded by Compagnia di San Paolo. And we had one reduction of taxes, of fiscal, by the Minister of Economy, quite important. But the idea was just to have a project that they could have a really impact on our country. And this money that has to be managed separately by the money of the Compagnia is for, we started the project for 5 years, but we have already money for 10 years. Then it's possible. I used to say that the educational project, they needed to last at least 20 years. Because kids, when they started primary school this year, they will finish the elementary school in the year 2029, the middle school in the year 2032, the high school in the year 2037, and the university in the year 2040. This means 20 years from now. Then we needed really to understand, and there is in our country one conflict between the necessity for having long-term projects for example, for research, for education, for the social issues. But on the other side, we have the political system that is very fragmented. In the last 20 years, we had 12 different governments, 18 months each. And at the end of the government, the new minister, the new prime minister, is going to start different work. And this is a very difficult problem for our country that I don't know if it can be solved. But I want to be positive, and I want to mention 2 points. That just at the end of the Second World War, when the priority was the house of people, the President Fanfani made one agreement, political agreement, for 20 years. And for 20 years, the people, they had a small part of the salary that was just a form of tax for houses. And they solved the problem. Then I feel that we can do this also if we have this kind. The other point that I want to stress is that in some cases, look for example, the mayor of the cities. They have different election system, and if we look back, you know, they started in the year 1993. It means 40 years ago. And what we can say that the result is quite good. If you look at the mayors in one side and the other side, in the average, are very good. And then usually, most of them, they have the possibility to be re-elected. Most of them are re-elected. And this means that for projects with the long term, they can really be quite active on this side. Then I have the feeling that, again, one of the problems of the country is governance. Sometimes it governs the election, governance system. And I'm sure that something is not in the right way yet in our country. That maybe are small things in order to, but because I'm positive in the sense that we have some good experiment that maybe can be replaced in good way. Okay, but going to the city of education. Why first is city? Because the city is the space where the students, they go to school. And there is this interaction with territory, with the actors of the territory. And the idea is that we have the possibility just to understand, since when the kids are small, are in elementary school, if they have some kind of fragility that is not yet evident, but maybe can become evident during the middle school. And starting from this idea, it's possible really to try to help, or try to really get some kind of education system that is able to help these guys. You know, we have a different set of data, starting data from the school. For example, if the students they don't go regularly to school, it's a problem for sure. There is data from family, data from the territory, data from INVALSI. You know, there are different sets of data. And one of the problem that we need to solve, how to put together all this data. And in order to get this information related to the fragility of the students, and to try to do something in order to prevent what could happen during the 13, 14 years of age. And this is what we are doing. We signed an agreement with the minister in order to setting one data platform for data. We signed an agreement with INVALSI, and we started from our territory, because we identified 2 cities in Piedmont and 2 cities in Liguria, Torino and Genova, and Vercelli and Savona. And we are now in what we call the first year, year 0 for the design. And in this year we are going to have for 2/3 of the school year related to the realization of this platform, to invest in the education for teachers and for the principals of the school, in order just to educate in advance related to the new system, to start a process in order to evaluate the system. This is very important to understand if we are going to have the right results or not. And then on the pedagogical system. We are going also to select a small number of the schools for this last part of the school year 2023-24 for a small, just like an experiment. And then starting from the year 2025, 2026, we are going to have up to 500 schools. Then, it's quite interesting because it's mainly at this stage research is research very close to the students, and we have the education model that we are going to use. We needed to have an evaluation, and we needed to understand more and more that we needed to have what we call an educational system. This means that it's not in the school, but it's also outside the school, the relation that we have inside the Then, as I said, we have this experiment, and we go to the bigger number next year, and we needed to have the validation at the end of the system. The education, the città dell'educazione is for a project that starts from the baby, 0 to 6 years, then for the schools, it means 6, 18, and then also for people that from 16 to the life they can have a problem. It's not easy, but we are pretty sure that we can do something for our country. And really, we think that it is scalable, also because of the agreement with the minister is that they are going to use the platform that we are realizing together. And, they needed to have all the feedback, but it's not just only one lab, it's something that is integrated in the school. And in the meantime, we have this continuous interaction with the minister, mainly to transfer this kind of culture, the culture of data, the culture of this capability to work with other actors. That is sometimes the minister is quite far from the schools, in the sense that most of the people in the minister, they have no experiences in the school. This is one of the problems. When I was a minister, I really touched with my fingers that, but in the meantime, I have the feeling that there is, in this time, more and more consensus, in the sense that it's not anymore to say we can do next time. We needed to do today, we needed to do something looking back. Because this is really the major priority for our country. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As I told you, a lot of things to think about, and a slight feeling of anxiety to have to cancel the next holiday because we have a lot of things to do. And yeah, already cancelled. Okay, no anxiety because I already cancelled. And I would like to open the floor to questions before to do some final considerations, but please, I would like to open the floor. If you have some questions, please don't feel shy.
Thank you. I'm Lorenzo Maraviglia. I'm a researcher at INVALSI. You mentioned that our schools are not capable now to transfer skills and knowledge about artificial intelligence, mainly because our teachers are not prepared, they don't have the skills. Well, supposing that we agree now to change the curriculum which is needed to become a teacher, it will take time in order to change things. So what can we do now? In the meanwhile, I think it's like the problem with doctors. We are running short of doctors now. It takes 10 years about to train a new doctor. What can we do now? The second question, observation. You mentioned Luigi Einaudi. Well, we know that our schools will face growing competition in attracting students in the future, because the number of students is shrinking, it's rapidly diminishing. Don't you think that the provision of innovative programs based on artificial intelligence, maybe supported by foundations, could be a positive driver of competition among schools in order to attract students? I mean, because I think there is the need to break the ice, to overcome a barrier, because I feel a sort of cultural barrier from schools about artificial intelligence and related questions.
For the first question related to the teachers, you know, this is a problem not only in Italy but all around the world. And it's not easy to solve, also because, as I said, the number of students related to university courses in artificial intelligence is quite small. Also because we don't have professors, that they have enough professors that they have. That is quite like a loop that. You are right when you say that we need many years. You are right in the sense that we are not able to solve the problem right now. But what we can do is to redesign a part of the curricula, not specifically for artificial intelligence, but with basic that can be used for artificial intelligence. In the sense that the small kids, they don't need to learn, but they needed to have what I was trying to summarize, analytical capability, creativity, some other soft skills that can be created in this time. You know, if we don't have specialists, but we have people that are on this direction. Anyhow, we needed to do one effort that is very strong from this side. And for example, we can use also what we can get from this kind of remote teaching, in the sense that we can get some kind of materials that can be used by just to start some people. if we look at the problem in general, it's impossible to be solved. But we needed to go step by step. And as I said, we have at least 10 years in order to get that the artificial intelligence is in our society. And then we need also to separate the fact that we need people that are able to really create artificial intelligence. And we needed to have other people that are able to use them. And this, maybe you remember some years ago when the President Obama, he said that in the US they needed at that time 1 million people for data science, for big data. And then he said that of this 1 million, 10% were people able to write the algorithm, and 90% people able to use them. Then we need to go to the details. I'm confident that we need to start as soon as possible, and we need also to try to do. But it's not necessary that next year we are going to have people on this side. For people that are already working, this is the major problem. We need to face the problem for the upskilling and for the reskilling.
Any other questions? Please.
Thank you. I'm Antonio Piscopo from Teachable Italy. I'm the Deputy CEO, and I am quite acquainted with some system related to the value of data and the participation on creating and extracting value. But I wanted to, it was really interesting, the sentence I am rereading because I'm not able to remember exactly, or by McAfee. So digital technologies are doing for the human brain what the steam engine and related technologies did for human muscle power, right? A provocation. Well, in that context, human muscles became quite irrelevant. So what can we do, or what should we do in order for the new technology not having our brain becoming or having the same destiny of muscle power in the industrial revolution? Thank you.
Yeah. There is one major difference that for the previous industrial revolutions, the new form of energies was were substitute the human muscles, partially. In the case of artificial intelligence, the idea that is that the artificial intelligence is helping the human brain, in the sense that is working together. In the case of previous industrial revolution was just a substitution. In this case, we are sure that there will be just one way to work together. Think about what can be done by doctors. For example, if you have one instrument that is able to get imaging of our body, there are two different stages. One is to read the results of the exam. The other one is to indicate what to do. Okay, we are facing that the artificial intelligence is maybe better than the human being in order to read the results, and then the final decision and the real help to the human being is done by the doctor. During the pandemic, in in Torino we had a tool that was supported by European Commission, and it was for identify pneumonia by COVID. And in that case, was almost impossible just to compare tests coming from, unfortunately, thousands and thousands of people. And then we use artificial intelligence in order just to give this kind of output. But then the therapy was defined by the doctors. This is a good example, I think. And this is the way to do.
Thank you very much. And I would like to thank you very much for your presentation. A lot of things to reflect on. And I think we can see a kind of connection of the two presentations, because in the end, I would like to say, maybe the most important part is to have the knowledge, the culture to prioritize our goals. Just let me give you some examples. The YouTube part was very interesting. I was impressed by several things. But first of all, the two young women, one was from Italy, the other from America, and they around the world, but they spoke in English. They need English in order to speak, to communicate. Our first example, today we have to focus our energy in order our population is able to speak English. And even the adults, no excuse. We have to study, to work. And this is, for me, one example to prioritize the things. I'm 57, maybe, if I didn't study English before, I have to study now. Now, right now. And this is an example. Basic skills. I think this is another challenge that we should take into consideration. And the digitalization is a good example. Is everything, or not everything, maybe it's too much, but we have very important European documents speaking a lot about exactly the topics related by Francesco Profumo in terms of problem solving, critical thinking, and so on, to reflect on our teaching. And so I think in the end, there is another issue that maybe we should take into consideration. We as a country have a huge debt, and these are so huge that I think is nothing to say. We limit our possibilities to work, and then we have to prioritize our energies. And we should take into consideration what is possible to do, and these things are extremely relevant to do. And also our pedagogy, our science of education should take into consideration these aspects. Of course, there are several aspects that would be very nice to manage, but or to accommodate. But in the end, I think we need, and Aline told us very, very well, very clearly, and we need also an agenda. Maybe we have to share in an open discussion, democratic discussion, but we need an agenda. We need an agenda. We cannot go wherever we want. I think this is the biggest issue that we have, and in this sense, I don't know if our speakers agree with me, but the research, our community can help a lot. I think we can do a very good job, and thank you again.